This is 8 Sleep's most updated Pod 5 ecosystem, and they've sent over their latest edition so I could test it out for the last 30 days. So in this video, we're going to look at their 4 main products to see which ones will actually help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep. But we're also going to be ranking all of them on a tier list, so you know which ones are actually worth it. And it's probably not what you expect. The latest addition is the pillow cover, and it was the missing link because now you can heat or cool every part of your entire bed. But what's interesting is you can actually set it to a different temperature compared to what you'd have your blanket and your cover set to. And after experimenting with it and messing up a few times and sleeping on the wrong side of the pillow cover, I realized that I actually prefer it to be cooler than the rest of my body. What's always nice about 8 Sleep products is that they're easy to set up. And it's the same thing with this one. You just wrap it around your pillow like a fitted sheet, and then you can put a normal pillowcase on top. But when I was doing this, I was pretty worried about how it was gonna affect the firmness of my pillow. I don't like when pillows are too rigid. I like to be able to bunch them up sometimes, and thankfully it wasn't a problem. It did take a little bit of getting used to, but honestly, just like the cover itself, there's minimal change. Also, the first night, because my ear is actually gonna be right on the pillow, I was wondering if I would actually hear the water circulating throughout the pillow cover. Thankfully, that's not the case, and literally I can't pick up anything at all. But the worst thing about it is that to finalize this setup process, you have to take the hoses and connect it into not the existing hub that you already have, but a complete new one. They actually send an additional one, so you now have 2 hubs sitting right there, and it gets really clunky. Like, you have all the cords, and now we have 2 of those there. It's not an ideal setup. Also, there's a button built right into your pillow cover as well, where if you double tap it, it's gonna cool your pillow down, and if you triple tap it, it's gonna heat it up. So because of this, I'm gonna have to rank this B tier because there is still a few improvements that I would love to see until it gets to the spot of A tier. But the next one is the biggest upgrade to the Pod 5 ecosystem, and you're gonna either love it or hate it. Before we get into that though, if you do decide to get one and you wanna save some additional money on top of any of the promotions that are currently on the website, wink wink, Black Friday, you can use discount code Mike to save the most amount of money, and it will stack on top of any of the promotions. The blanket for most is a game changer because it allows you to actually have a true full body experience for yourself on the whole bed, or you and your partner having different experiences. And what's amazing is instead of just having one side of your body, whether it's your back or your side or your stomach, touching the cool part of the bed and the other parts just being way too hot, that's not the case anymore. Well, what's cool is because it creates this experience, it's a lot more effective, and I realized I didn't have to set it as cold as I did before. Plus, it doesn't need a whole other hub. There's actually hoses that are right at the bottom of the bed, sneakily hidden away that you can just pull out and connect the blanket right into it. But what's annoying is that if you do want the best experience, you gotta buy the duvet cover as well. Or if you have one that closes with buttons, that should be an okay experience. The hoses on either side are still going to be able to leave the duvet cover and you're still going to be able to close it. But if you have one that closes with a zipper, you're not going to be able to close the bottom at all, and it's just not a good look. Also, because of the water running through the blanket, it is going to add a little bit of weight. And on their duvet cover, they have little clips that'll make sure the blanket stays in place correctly, but it may slip and slide around on your just standard duvet cover. Which brings me to the weight. If you don't like a weighted blanket, don't get me wrong, it's not super heavy, it's just a slight amount of weight, then this is probably not going to be for you. Personally, I was a little bit worried after sleeping on it for a while. I got used to it, but unfortunately, my partner did not, and she just doesn't like it at all. And it's really unfortunate that if just one person wants to use the blanket, you can't change the temperature for the whole thing, because doing so would not just change the temperature on their side of the blanket, but also their cover as well, which means that the part of your partner's blanket is just going to be scrunched up in the middle of you and your partner, and it's just this weird experience. But what makes it even stranger is that because the hoses are connected on either corner of the bottom of the bed, you can't really pull it fully onto your side. It always has to be on their side just a little bit. But on the flip side, if you're dealing with a blanket hog, you don't have to worry about that because they literally are not going to be able to pull the blanket away from you fully. And I feel like a simple solution to this would be to use the European approach, which is to have 2 different duvets. This was recently introduced into my life, and oh, it is freaking amazing. But that would mean that I could use it without affecting my partner, and I would just connect onto the side of the hose that I wanted, and then I'd be able to have my blanket and everything would be hunky-dory. So because of all that, I'm gonna have to rank it an A tier. because regardless of my atypical situation, it does really amplify the whole 8 Sleep experience.
But for this next one, if you love to read, you're definitely gonna like this one.
This is the base that comes with the Pod 5 Ultra, and it allows you to elevate the back portion up to 45 degrees and your knees to 20 degrees. But to use this feature, there's 2 options that you can choose from. You can either go right into the app and select one of these presets, or you can double tap the middle button right on your cover and it will change between sleep mode and reading mode. But what's really nice is you can custom set any of these presets. So when I double tap the side of my cover, instead it just elevates my feet because I just like to elevate my feet before bed. I find it nice and relaxing. And personally, I don't really read very much in bed anymore. I typically read at the couch or from an audiobook when I'm driving the car. But there's also a snore detection feature, which if it senses you're snoring, it will elevate the top of the bed just a little bit. But the only downside is it's not just raising your side, but also your partner's. And say, for example, you're a side sleeper, that's just gonna be a little bit awkward. I don't like how it personally moves my body. I wish they would just make a custom bed that was cut right down the center so you could change the elevation on just your side and not your partner's. That would be really awesome. To test this out for yourself, the setup is simple like usual. You basically just lay both the left side and the right side on your frame, connect them together, and then plug them into the wall. Just one thing to note, they are very heavy, so I wouldn't suggest carrying them yourself. I almost really hurt my back, which was just stupid of me doing.
But the newest addition is a speaker that's only been added to the right side of the bed.
In theory, this was a great idea, but in practice, I feel like it missed the mark. So you can really only use it for 2 things. One, as your alarm to wake up in the morning, which is great, but if you don't wake up at the same time as your partner, probably just going to be annoying for them. You should just stick with the vibration alarm. And then the other one is to do some soundscapes or some NSDR session with Andrew Huberman. I feel like this missed the mark because if I was able to connect it up to Audible or to Spotify to be able to listen to an audiobook before bed, that would be super nice because these soundscapes even connect up with the sensors so it can detect when you fall asleep, and I would love to be able to just turn off my audiobook right when I actually fall asleep. But maybe there's a software update where this changes in the future. And also, just to be super crystal clear, these are not the best sounding speakers in the world. They're at the bottom of your bed, so they're gonna be a little bit muffled. Because of all this, I'm gonna rank it a C tier for myself personally, but if you do love to read in bed, it's probably gonna be higher up there for you. But the next one is the main 8 Sleep experience, which is the cover and the pod. And it's gone through 5 different versions, so it's really dialed in at this point. So it goes right on top of your mattress and it heats or cools your side of the bed. But the best addition, which I'm so freaking grateful that they decided to add to it, were physical buttons built right into the cover itself that are on either side. Don't get me wrong, we've had this since the Pod 4, but you would have to tap on your bed. And I don't want to need to memorize the amount of taps that I need to increase the temperature or decrease the temperature or yada yada. So whichever one you want to do, you just hold the corresponding button and then you get this really nice vibration as feedback. But to get it all set up, you put 2 covers on top of your mattress that operate the same way as fitted sheets. You take the hose, plug it into the hub, then you follow along with the app and add some distilled water to this cavity right here. I would suggest getting half a gallon or 2 liters. You might need a little bit more than that or a little bit less, really depends. And I would really suggest using distilled water. At first, with my previous versions, I just used normal tap water. I was too lazy. But what I recently learned is if you do use tap water, there's gonna be some mineral buildup that's gonna happen in the pipes and the machine itself. You don't want that, especially if you want this product to last as long as possible. But what's really nice is it's very much a set it and forget it kind of device because the maintenance on it is basically 0. Like I can't remember the last time that I need to fill up the water or prime the device because I think you do it like twice a year and the app will just let you know. So every night 1 hour before bed, it's gonna get to your desired temperature. And what I found on these newer versions is if I do decide to heat or cool it 1 additional degree, I find that it gets there a lot faster. Also comfort-wise, it makes a negligent difference between the firmness of the mattress. I don't notice it at all personally. But if you're anything like me the first time I got an 8 Sleep, I was a little bit worried about how loud the fans would be in the room itself. Well, I have 2 of them in my room now, and I literally can't hear them at all when they're running. Like here's a decibel meter right beside the fans when they're off, and then when they're on. It's literally marginal. And again, your ear is not gonna be right beside those fans.
Also, this example was from me actually heating up the bed. Because it preheats every single night, you're not gonna experience this at all.
What's also nice is if you have a wearable like a Whoop or an Oura Ring, the 8 Sleep is also going to track your sleep data. And honestly, before with previous versions, I didn't rely on that data because I really didn't think it was good. Now it's really gotten to the point where honestly, I can't really tell the difference, and it's just as good as the other gold standard trackers. Like here you can see the data up on screen for a few nights, and it's very comparable. And again, if you're using the same device over and over, it's going to have the same margin of error. All the devices are not going to be perfect. So it's to the point where it's going to give you great data, and that means that you're not going to have to spend additional money on a wearable as well. But the sensors do a lot more than just tell you about how you sleep. They also integrate with 8Sleep's AI autopilot. And every single night as you're sleeping, it's making a ton of little micro adjustments to make sure that they're optimizing your sleep as best as possible. Personally, I'm not a scientist and I haven't done any scientific research on them, so I have no idea how effective they are, but they've done some research themselves and they found that people that sleep with 8Sleeps get an additional hour of sleep every single night. We definitely have to look at this with some skepticism because they were the ones actually doing the research, but even if it's a percentage of this, additional sleep is great compounded over time. Built into the cover as well is also a vibration pad that can act as an alarm. So it can either wake you up at the exact time that you want, or it can link in with those sensors and see what sleep stage you're at and try to optimize that as best as possible so that when it does go off, you're going to be as alert as possible. Then to either snooze or dismiss the alarm, you can set the middle button to either of those options. But an unexpected benefit is because we're now using the 8Sleep alarm, we don't have to have our phones in the bedroom at all while we're sleeping. We can actually charge them outside of the room, which means right before bed, we're not looking at our phones. And also first thing in the morning, I'm not immediately right on my phone and a screen as well. Plus there's some new features like hot flash mode and nap mode that you can enjoy as well. So when it comes to the ranking, this is definitely S tier, and it's predominantly because of those amazing buttons. Thank you so much for adding them again. So if you do end up getting one, and let's say you have a queen size mattress, it's going to cost you $3,049 for the Pod 5, which is going to include the cover and the pod. If you want the base as well, that would be the Pod 5 Ultra, which is an additional $2,000 on top of that. The blanket is going to be $1,049, and the pillows for a standard pillow size, for one pillow is going to be $1,049, and for two pillows is going to be $1,649. But the most frustrating thing with 8Sleep and almost every health company out there is that on top of their product, they also have a membership fee as well. So for example, with 8Sleep, you have to do a year-long mandatory annual subscription, and depending on which tier you choose is going to be a different price. Like I can understand this for additional warranty, which is what they have for one of their packages, just like AppleCare, for example. But what's crazy to me is if you don't have their membership, you have to do everything manually on your device. From my perspective, don't get me wrong, this is really expensive, but if you can afford it, it is very much the gift that keeps on giving. It's very much a set it up and forget it kind of situation that has very minimal maintenance. I hope you understand which products are going to be the most helpful for you. And if you do have any additional questions, just comment them down below and I'll get back to you. If you did also like this video, I feel like you're gonna love this one as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, because doing so really helps support this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.